Family, Kaba. Just wanted to touch on a few things on the bulletin board. This meeting, what I call the meeting at the African Square. There's so many things going on, family, at this time. I just wanted to follow up, let you know some of the work that we're doing. For instance, on the webinar. This past webinar, we dealt with some very important concepts and ideas. And again, like I tell you, the webinar is really meant to be very quick. It's a quick webinar. It's not meant to necessarily take up a lot of time, but it's meant to look at education and methods of teaching in education. And when I look through all these processes, as you'll see up on my Instagram, I have this discussion on the pineal gland, which I think is extremely important. Part of the webinar will be moving into brain anatomy, understanding the parts of the brain. Like right now, what you're doing. We'll talk about the process of learning. For instance, for me to speak to you, I'm using the part of my brain in the frontal lobe known as the Broca, B-R-O-C-A. For you to be listening and comprehending and being able to understand what I'm saying, you're using a part of your brain that is located in your temporal lobe in the back bottom that's called the Wernicke, W-E-R-N-I-C-K-E, the Wernicke section of your brain. And to understand and to go even deeper into the spiritual aspects of life, you'll notice that I have something up on the pineal gland and the concept of the function of the pineal gland. You have three parts to your brain. I'm going to try to do this as quick as I do the webinar. You have three parts to your brain. You have your brain stem, which is at the base, your neck coming up. Out of that grows what we call the limbic system. And then out of that grows your cerebral cortex, which is the larger part of your brain. And the first part of the brain that was developed was your brain stem, or what's called R complex, reptilian brain. Then came your limbic, which is responsible for your feelings. And then your cerebral cortex is responsible for your thinking. Now, in your limbic system, you have 3 jewels. This is why a lot of crowns have 3 jewels. You have your pineal gland, you have your pituitary gland, and you have your optic thalami. Thalami is plural for thalamus. You have a right thalamus and you have a left thalamus. But where the two thalami meet is called the optic, or the eye of the thalami. This is where you pass information from one side of your brain to the other. Your pineal gland is responsible for your spiritual growth. Your pituitary gland is responsible for your physical growth. And your optic thalami is responsible for your emotional growth. The pineal gland is known as a master gland. It's called pineal because it's shaped like a pine cone. And under healthy conditions, your pineal gland looks like a grape. When you take a grape and you put it in the sun dries it. It becomes sun-dried. It becomes a raisin. Well, when Africans went into the ice, their pineal gland was freeze-dried, and it became what's known as a calcified pineal gland. And out of all of the different types of thoughts and concepts that you have come your reaction. But our ancestors built the pyramid in that direct alignment of the brain. It's not the king's chamber and the queen's chamber. Actually, where you look at the king's chamber, that's where your pineal gland is located. And where what they call the queen's chamber is located, that's where your pituitary gland is located. You can see how heavy our people are. This is the type of information that I want to bring to you in the webinar. I want you to understand scientifically what all of this means. Science meaning knowledge, scient, to know. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start to develop, and we're going to continue to develop the webinars which deals with teaching methodologies. However, the webinar that we just did this past Sunday dealing with Shabaka's galactic family. It dealt with concepts about the fact that there are actual galaxies that have quasars, quasi-stellar entities, that actually could communicate with each other in the same way we communicate with each other. When you're dealing with telepathy or telepathy, telekinesis, all of these concepts do exist. It's according to where you are in your living style that determines what you have access to. Some people, this is gibberish. Well, if it's gibberish, it's gibberish. But there are other people who say, I do it all the time. It's all according to where you are. I'm not trying to get you to believe me. I'm just offering you concepts that you can think about. And, when you think a certain way, another piece I put up was on the Stono Rebellion, 1739. This was before the American Revolution. In Carolina, black folks stood up and fought back. Don't think we just were here just letting people do what they want to do to us. That's not how we were. And I just think that it's important that we understand this and that we move to certain concepts, that we take ownership of the Messiah and leave the Judas behind. Judas falls 9 times, but Messiah rises 10. So it becomes important that we have this information. And so what I'm doing on the Instagrams here is I'm using this like a bulletin board, like a meeting at the African Square, that I come to you every so often and I tell you what we're doing and what we're developing. And then the quick webinars are meant to give you, I'm trying to stay under 20 minutes, but fam, sometime when we get going, we just got to go a little bit more, maybe 24 minutes, 25 minutes, but I'm going to keep it under, I'm going to work hard to keep it under half hour, but 20 minutes is what I'm aiming for, a quick webinar. And then the webinars are the information, the content information. We have this webinar up, we have the webinar up now. I assure you, you check this out, you'll see things from a different light. Our next webinar, which is October, I believe it's October 3rd, but it's the first Sunday of October. We're going to be dealing with consciousness, because we all talking about consciousness. And while I'm talking about consciousness, please, let me just tell you something else, because I've been seeing and hearing some things about the word Hotep. I'm not going to do it here, but I want to talk to you about the origins of our use. When I say our use, I mean the more modern use of the word Hotep and what it meant. And what it means when you can actually come out of your mouth with a concept that you say, yo, you are a Hotep N. I'm not going to say the word. You're a Hotep N. Hey, we have to talk about this, family. Soon we're going to talk about it, but I'm thinking about consciousness and the next webinar and what consciousness is. And can I tell you something else? I know there's a lot of folk coming at you right now, and there's a lot of different things happening. Many are acting absolutely appropriately, phenomenally. But there's some folk out here who are claiming to be in the conscious community that are not conscious. Let's be serious about this. Consciousness isn't a community that you live in. Consciousness is a way of life. If you see somebody acting inappropriately, you don't have to you don't say, oh, he's in the conscious community. He ain't in the conscious community. Or she. Consciousness is a way of life. If you see somebody acting a certain way, that tells you whether or not they're conscious or not. And so I think that we have to have a couple conversations. And I'd like to use this medium, this Instagram, as that way we can have these short little conversations and have meetings, let you know about what's going on. And also it gives me a chance to thank you for your support, family. Your support in the webinars and also your responses back to us about the impact that the webinars and the quibinars are having. For those of you who are supporting us, going to Amazon, purchasing our book, going to our website, Kaba Kamene, and getting our streams and the materials that we have up there. I thank you. I sincerely thank you for your support. It really makes a difference in the work that I'm doing. It allows me to do a lot of things that your support makes happen. So thank you, family. And I thank you for spending time here with us today. Because like I tell you, the most precious thing you have is time. I just thank you for what it is that you're doing. So if you want to look at my books, the book on William Leo Hansberry, uncle to Lorraine Hansberry. My second book is Spirituality Before Religions, that breaks down Kemetic texts. And my third and my latest book is Shabaka Stone, which talks about the pattern in the tabernacle. It is in fact an African theory on the origin and continuing development of the cosmic universe. When you know that, then you know and have a good sense of where you're going and why you're here. So family, thank you so much for all the things that you do. Understand, it ain't over till we win. Our day is yet to come. Let's keep working towards that. Let's have a plan for our children who are yet to be born. I have a plan for 2121. Not a generation from now, a century from now. We will be on our way, if not in the promised land. So we have the DNA of the pyramid builders, the DNA of the plantation dwellers, the DNA of the folk that are living in the projects, but we also are the inheritors of the promised land. Keep on keeping on, family. Although the Judas may fall 9, let the Messiah rise 10. We're on our way to the promised land. Hotep, enjoy your day. Peace out.